that God honors faith that moves. And sometimes your provision is waiting on the other side of that one decision. So stop waiting for it to feel safe. Stop waiting for you to have all the puzzle pieces together. Stop using lack as your default response and start figuring it out, not because it's easy, but because your future, your freedom, your faith assignment, your family, they're all depending on it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Kingdom Convos with Melissa. And today we need to talk about the excuse problem that some of y'all really be dealing with and putting on yourselves. The one that shows up in conversations, the one that shows up in your thoughts, the one that shows up in your bank accounts. Yeah, the I can't afford it mentality. Let me set the record straight before I start rolling. This way of operating, usually it's not always a money problem. It's really a mindset problem. Most of the time, we do not realize what's really costing us is us staying exactly where we are. We think everything is so freaking expensive, but what's really expensive is you staying right where you are. That's really what's costing you so much money. You can't afford to keep living paycheck to paycheck. You can't afford to keep living in this mindset of burnout and staying stuck and spiritually dry. We can't afford to keep praying and asking God for breakthrough when He's been giving you the tools and the resources in front of your face, but you're ignoring them when you need to be using them for your breakthrough. At some point, you've got to stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking, can I afford to stay the same? Or how can I make this work by moving around some expenses so I can afford this thing? Because let's be real, when we think about the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5, like she couldn't afford her help or her healing either. Like she had spent every last dime that she had on physicians, but when she heard about Jesus, she risked it all. She pressed through the crowd and reached for Jesus because she believed that her healing was on the right other side of her movement. And if you need another example, let's talk about the 4 lepers in 2 Kings 7, I believe. They were starving at the city gate, caught between famine and fear. They said, why sit here until we die? They literally asked themselves that question. They said, why sit here until we die? They chose to move even when they didn't know what was on the other side. And what happened? God caused their enemies to flee and provision met them while they were on the move. You know what all of those stories just said to me? They just said to me that God honors faith that moves. And sometimes your provision is waiting on the other side of that one decision. So stop waiting for it to feel safe. Stop waiting for you to have all the puzzle pieces together. Stop using lack as your default response and start figuring it out, not because it's easy, but because your future, your freedom, your faith assignment, your family, they're all depending on it. I pray this helps somebody on today. I pray you receive this as your reminder. God bless you on your journey. And as always, I love y'all. Peace.